Your future is not controlled by luck, talent, or circumstances. It's controlled by a handful of choices you make every single day. So often you don't even notice them. Most people think their future is controlled by luck, money, the economy, or where they were born. That's not true. Your future is controlled by choices. Not yearly choices, not once in a lifetime choices, daily choices. You don't wake up one day successful or broke. You don't wake up disciplined or distracted. You become it one decision at a time. Let me show you 6 daily choices that are silently building the future you'll eventually live in. Choice first, what you think about daily. Your life always moves in the direction of your most dominant thoughts. If you think small, you live small. If you think limited, you act limited. If you think opportunity, you start seeing doors where others see walls. Thoughts are seeds. Whatever you plant in your mind today is what you harvest tomorrow. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your thinking. Choice second, what you feed your mind. Your mind is like soil. It doesn't care what you plant. It grows whatever you give it. If you feed it fear, gossip, and negativity, don't be surprised when doubt grows. If you feed it wisdom, discipline, and vision, confidence starts showing up. Entertainment can relax you, but education transforms you. What you listen to in private shows up in public. Choice third, how you use your time. Everyone gets the same 24 hours. The difference isn't time, it's priority. Busy people aren't productive people. Focused people are. Time doesn't change your life. What you do with time does. If you don't control your schedule, someone else will control it for you. Choice fourth, who you listen to. Every voice you allow into your life is either building you or shrinking you. Some people talk faith, some people talk fear, some people talk problems, others talk solutions. You don't need more opinions, you need better sources. The loudest voice in your life eventually becomes the strongest belief in your mind. Choice fifth, what you do consistently. Success is not dramatic, it's daily and boring. Small disciplines done daily create massive results over time. Small excuses repeated daily create massive regret. You don't need motivation, you need commitment. Consistency beats intensity every single time. Choice 6, how you respond to pressure. Pressure reveals who you really are. When pressure shows up, some people quit, others rise. Pain is not your enemy, avoiding growth is. The moment you decide that pressure will sharpen you instead of stop you, everything changes. Your future is not waiting on a miracle, it's waiting on a decision. Not tomorrow, not next year, today. Change your choices and you change your future. Not instantly, but inevitably, because daily choices don't just control your future, they create it. What you think about every single day is quietly shaping the direction of your life, whether you are aware of it or not. Your thoughts are not harmless. They are not random. They are instructions. Every repeated thought becomes a belief, and every belief eventually turns into behavior. You do not act based on what you want, you act based on what you believe is possible for you. That is why 2 people can be in the same environment with the same resources and end up in completely different places. The difference is not opportunity. The difference is thinking. Your mind is the most powerful asset you own, yet most people leave it unguarded. They allow fear, doubt, past failures, and other people's opinions to move in rent-free. Whatever occupies your mind long enough will eventually control your decisions. If you constantly think about what could go wrong, you will hesitate when it is time to move. If you constantly think about what you don't have, you will miss what is already within reach. Your future does know. T responds to your intentions. It responds to your dominant thoughts. Every result in your life started as a thought. Before there was action, there was an idea. Before there was success or failure, there was a belief about what was possible. The reason many people stay stuck is not because they lack ability, but because they keep rehearsing the same mental stories every day. Stories like this is just how I am, or people like me don't get ahead, or it's too late. Repeated thoughts become internal laws, and you will unconsciously obey them. Your mind works like a magnet. It pulls opportunities, conversations, and outcomes that match the frequency of your thinking. When your thoughts are small, your actions shrink to match them. When your thoughts expand, your actions follow. You never outperform your self-image. You can have skill, talent, and resources, but if your thinking is limited, your life will be limited. Growth always begins internally before it ever shows up externally. Thinking is a daily practice, not a one-time event. You do not accidentally think your way into a better future. You choose it. You decide what thoughts deserve your attention. You decide which thoughts get repeated and which ones get rejected. Discipline in thinking creates clarity. Clarity creates confidence. Confidence produces momentum. This is why successful people are intentional about what they focus on. They understand that focus is a form of currency. Your thoughts today are rehearsals for your tomorrow. What you consistently imagine, you slowly move toward. If you want a different future, you must first give yourself permission to think differently, not occasionally, daily, because the life you are living right now is proof that thinking works. The only question is whether it is working in your favor or against you. What you feed your mind every day determines what grows in your life. Your mind is always consuming something: information, conversations, images, opinions, and experiences. The question is never if you are feeding your mind, but what you are feeding it. Just like your body, your mind reflects its diet. If you consume junk consistently, you weaken it. If you consume substance consistently, you strengthen it. There is no neutral intake. Your mind does not filter information for quality. It only responds to repetition. Whatever you expose yourself to most often becomes familiar, and whatever becomes familiar starts to feel true. That is why fear spreads so easily. Negativity feels normal, and limitation sounds reasonable when you hear it every day. You don't have to agree with something consciously for it to influence you subconsciously. Exposure alone is enough to shape perception. Many people are sabotaging their future not through bad intentions, but through careless consumption. They listen to voices that complain, scroll content that distracts, replay news that amplifies fear, and entertain conversations that shrink ambition. Then they wonder why motivation feels low and clarity feels distant. What you allow into your mind today shows up as your attitude tomorrow and your results later. Your environment is speaking to you constantly. Music carries messages. Conversations plan ideas. Content creates expectations. Even jokes reinforce beliefs. Over time, your mind starts to mirror whatever it hears the most. If your inputs are chaotic, your thinking becomes scattered. If your inputs are disciplined, your thinking becomes sharp. You cannot consistently feed your mind confusion and expect clarity to magically appear. High-level results require high-level inputs. People who grow intentionally are selective about what they consume. They protect their mental space because they understand that focus is fragile. They know that inspiration doesn't come from chance, it comes from alignment. When you consistently expose your mind to wisdom, strategy, and vision, your thinking naturally elevates. You begin to see options instead of obstacles. You begin to hear opportunity instead of excuses. What you feed your mind also determines your emotional state. Anxiety is often the result of mental overconsumption without direction. Confidence grows when your mind is nourished with truth and perspective. You cannot starve your mind of encouragement and expect resilience under pressure. Strength is built internally before it ever shows externally. Your mind was designed to grow, but growth requires intention. You must decide what deserves access to your attention. Not everything that is available is valuable. Not everything that is popular is useful. When you take control of your mental diet, you take control of your direction, because over time, what you feed your mind doesn't just influence how you think. It determines how far you go. How you use your time determines what your life becomes, because time is the one resource you spend whether you are intentional or careless. You do not need more time, you need better decisions with the time you already have. Every day you are trading hours of your life for results, habits, and outcomes. The problem is not that people waste time once in a while. The problem is that they waste it consistently and then expect exceptional results. Time itself is neutral. It does not reward effort or punish laziness. It only reflects priority. What you repeatedly make time for is what you value most, regardless of what you say you want. Many people claim they want growth, success, or freedom, but their calendars tell a different story. Your schedule reveals your true intentions long before your words do. Busyness is often mistaken for productivity. Filling your day with activity can feel like progress, but movement is not the same as direction. You can be busy all day and still move nowhere. Productive people are not doing more, they are doing what matters. They understand that focus multiplies results, and that distraction quietly steals potential. Every time you say yes to something, you are saying no to something else. Time spent scrolling, complaining, or procrastinating is time not invested in learning, building, or improving. These small decisions seem harmless in the moment, but they compound. Just like interest, time magnifies whatever you consistently do with it. Small daily investments create massive returns. Small daily wastes create long-term regret. Time also exposes discipline. You cannot manage time without managing yourself. Motivation comes and goes, but structure creates consistency. People who win long-term design their days on purpose. They create systems that reduce decision fatigue and protect their focus. They understand that willpower is limited, but habits are powerful. Your future is being built in the margins of your day. The early hours, the quiet moments, the unused spaces between obligations, this is where growth either happens or is neglected. You don't need perfect conditions to use your time well. You need clarity. Thank you when you know what matters. You stop negotiating with distractions. Everyone gets the same 24 hours, but not everyone gets the same results. The difference is not opportunity, it is intentionality. Time rewards those who respect it. If you want a different future, you must start treating your time as valuable today. Because how you use your time is not just shaping your schedule, it's shaping who you become, who you listen to has more influence over your life than most people are willing to admit. Every voice you allow consistent access to your mind is shaping the way you think, decide, and act. You may believe you are independent in your thinking, but no one thinks in isolation. Ideas come from somewhere. Beliefs are formed through repetition. Over time, the voices you listen to most begin to sound like your own. Not all voices deserve equal weight. Some speak from experience, others from emotion. Some speak from wisdom, others from fear. If you do not consciously choose who you listen to, you will subconsciously absorb opinions from the loudest, closest, or most familiar sources. Proximity does not equal credibility. Just because someone is around you does not mean they are qualified to guide you. Many people unknowingly sabotage their growth by surrounding themselves with voices that normalize limitation. Conversations filled with complaints, excuses, and negativity slowly rewire expectations. When struggle becomes entertainment and mediocrity becomes acceptable, ambition starts to feel uncomfortable. Over time, you stop aiming higher, not because you can't, but because the environment discourages it. The voices you listen to influence what you believe is possible. When you consistently hear doubt, you begin to doubt yourself. When you hear vision, your thinking expands. Faith grows in environments where progress is discussed, not just problems. This is why mentorship matters. You do not need more opinions, you need access to perspectives that are ahead of where you are trying to go. Listening is an act of agreement. Even silence can be consent. When you entertain discouraging voices without challenge, you give them authority. That authority shows up later when decisions get difficult. In moments of pressure, the strongest voice in your mind will guide your response. If that voice is fearful, you retreat. If it is confident, you advance. Your inner dialogue is built from external voices you have accepted over time. What started as someone else's comment can become your own internal limitation if repeated often enough. That is why protecting your mental environment is not arrogance, it is responsibility. Growth requires intentional filtering. You do not have to cut everyone off, but you do have to decide who has influence. You can love people without letting them lead you. Choose voices that challenge you to think bigger, act wiser, and stay disciplined. Because over time, who you listen to doesn't just shape your decisions, it shapes the direction of your life. What you do consistently matters more than what you do occasionally, because life is built on patterns, not moments. Big breakthroughs may get attention, but it is the small, repeated actions that quietly determine where you end up. Success is rarely the result of one bold decision. It is the result of ordinary disciplines practiced long enough to become unstoppable. In the same way, failure is not usually dramatic. It is subtle, slow, and rooted in habits that seem harmless at first. Your daily actions are votes for the person you are becoming. Every time you repeat a behavior, you reinforce an identity. You are not just doing an action, you are proving something to yourself. When you show up consistently, even when motivation is low, you train your mind to trust you. When you quit often, delay often, or make excuses often, you teach yourself that comfort is more important than progress. Over time, your behavior shapes your self-image and yourself. Image shapes your future. Consistency is powerful because it compounds. One small action may not seem significant, but repeated over days, months, and years, it creates massive momentum. Reading a few pages a day doesn't feel life-changing until years later when your thinking is sharper than everyone around you. Saving a small amount of money daily doesn't feel impressive until discipline turns into freedom. The same principle works in reverse. Small neglect, repeated daily, produces results you never intended. Many people wait for motivation before taking action, but motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes based on emotion, energy, and circumstances. Consistency, on the other hand, is built on commitment. Commitment says, I do this whether I feel like it or not. That mindset separates professionals from amateurs. Professionals show up because it's who they are. Amateurs show up only when it feels good. What makes consistency difficult is that it rarely gives immediate feedback. Results lag behind effort. This gap causes many people to quit too early. They stop not because what they were doing didn't work, but because they didn't do it long enough. Consistency requires faith in the process before evidence appears. It requires patience to keep going when progress is invisible. Your environment will test your consistency. Distractions, pressure, and comparison will try to pull you off course. That is why systems matter more than goals. Goals give direction, but systems create follow-through. When your habits are designed properly, consistency becomes easier and progress becomes inevitable. Your future is being shaped right now by what you repeat. Not what you plan, not what you promise, what you practice. Over time, consistency becomes character, and character becomes destiny. If you want a different outcome, you don't need a new personality. You need new patterns. Because what you do consistently doesn't just determine what you achieve, it determines who you become. How you respond to pressure determines the ceiling of your life. Because pressure is not an interruption of the process, it is the process. Everyone experiences pressure. The difference between people who grow and people who stall is not the amount of pressure they face, but how they interpret it. Pressure is information. It reveals what you believe, how prepared you are, and where your character truly stands when comfort is removed. Most people try to avoid pressure, thinking that ease is the goal. But growth has never lived in comfort. Pressure is what forces expansion. It exposes weaknesses so they can be strengthened. It brings clarity by stripping away excuses. When pressure arrives, it does not ask for permission and it does not care about your feelings. It simply demands a response. That response becomes a defining moment. Under pressure, some people shrink. They retreat into fear, blame circumstances, or wait for conditions to improve. Others rise. They adjust, focus, and take responsibility. The same pressure that breaks one person builds another. The difference is mindset. When you see pressure as a threat, you protect yourself. When you see it as training, you improve yourself. Pressure reveals what you have been rehearsing mentally. In calm moments, everyone feels confident. Under pressure, your true beliefs take control. If you have practiced discipline, you act with clarity. If you have practiced avoidance, you freeze. This is why preparation matters. You do not rise to the occasion, you fall to the level of your conditioning. Pressure also forces decisions. It removes the luxury of delay. Many breakthroughs happen because pressure makes indecision uncomfortable. It pushes you to choose, to act, and to grow. Without pressure, potential remains dormant. With pressure, potential is activated. That is why people often grow the most during difficult seasons, even though they would never choose them voluntarily. How you respond to pressure shapes your confidence. Every time you face pressure and move forward anyway, you build trust in yourself. You prove that you are capable of handling more than you thought. That confidence cannot be given. It must be earned through experience. Avoiding pressure may feel safe, but it quietly erodes belief in your own strength. Pressure also refines priorities. When things get hard, what truly matters becomes clear. Distractions lose their appeal. Focus sharpens. You learn what deserves your energy and what doesn't. In this way, pressure is a filter. It removes excess and reveals essence. Your future will demand more from you than your present does. The way you respond to pressure today is preparing you for the responsibilities of tomorrow. You cannot pray for growth and complain about pressure at the same time. They arrive together. When you learn to stand firm, think clearly, and act decisively under pressure, you stop being controlled by circumstances. You become someone who can handle greater opportunity. Because pressure doesn't destroy potential, it proves it. At the end of the day, your future is not decided by one big moment, one lucky break, or one perfect opportunity. It is decided quietly, daily, by the choices you make when no one is watching. What you think about, what you feed your mind, how you use your time, who you listen to, what you do consistently, and how you respond to pressure are not small things. They are the building blocks of your destiny. You don't need a new life to create a better future. You need new standards for your daily decisions. When your daily choices change, your direction changes. And when your direction changes long enough, your life has no option but to follow. The future you want is not ahead of you. It is being built through the decisions you make today. Choose intentionally. Choose wisely. Because when you control your daily choices, you don't just hope for a better future, you create it.